The following is an abridged review due to the relatively endless sandbox nature of the game. This is Nom Nom Galaxy.
Working in a coal mine, going down, down, down. Working in a coal mine, about to step down. Working in a coal mine, going down, down, down. Working in a coal mine, about to step down.
Normally when you talk about a game that feels corporate mandated, it's something like Army of Two, The Devil's Cartel, or Call of Duty Ghosts. You don't expect to throw that kind of description around when describing a PixelJunk game, and yet here I am. I've always had a respect for PixelJunk's work in the past. They are masters at making deceptively complex, but highly accessible games on par with the classic arcade games that inspire their work. And then there's Nom Nom Galaxy, which is what happens when you combine a half-baked tower defense game of Terraria in what really should have just been a straight-up economic sim. If that description sounds an awful lot like the sort of project you'd normally read about on Steam Early Access, you'd be right. In fact, Nom Nom Galaxy has just come out of Early Access. Let that sink in. PixelJunk, a studio normally known for retro-style games with beautiful art and distinctive gameplay elements, has made a 2D Steam Early Access survival game. I'm honestly still trying to come to grips with this. Compounding the problem, the game itself is another Early Access game that feels unfinished. Whether played with a keyboard and mouse or a controller, the game handles awkwardly. The game's tutorial level also doesn't teach you much more than the very basics without explaining how to automate your base or any of the more complex construction projects. Apparently, after concluding my review playthrough, the developers have finally patched in a second tutorial planet, but that feels more like a band-aid than anything else. I still don't even know how to repair my base, a basic function that I should know from the start. If you want to learn how to play Nom Nom Galaxy, you are most definitely looking up a guide online. Otherwise, you'll be repeating the same levels over and over through trial and error, and sometimes going on 40 minutes or more before realizing you're screwed and need to start over. Because that's fun. The game tries to soften the blow of repetition by not randomizing the levels. But instead, this simply makes the experience more banal. At least in a world of randomized, randomly generated odds, things might feel fair. There are some very easy ways to exploit the game as well, that further cheapen the experience. While you're told in your conquest for market share that you should be focused on quality soups, simply pumping out more soups than your competitor seems to work just as well. Your AI competition can send a wave of monsters to attack you, but they're so brain dead that a wall of dirt and some careful buzzsaw combat can easily tear them apart. They don't even work as intended, as they're supposedly sent if you are doing well, but I had some attack me even when I was doing horribly. The game's AI in general seems to rely more on the developer's scripting scenarios for it to work within than to be an intelligent opponent. I was once on the brink of losing all market share, yet was able to win back more than half of it by just spamming low-quality soups with a rinky-dink base that was probably a fraction of the size of my competition. Despite my competitors having a huge lead, it all came down to whoever could ship the most product, not who was the most clever strategist, not who invested in the right materials, none of that. It was just about a matter of spamming things. This also hits upon one of the seemingly core elements of the story. You see, you're a startup, looking to make waves in the intergalactic soup business. Everyone's making soup, and everyone is very passionate about it, and you want to capitalize on that. Even if that means your early soups are terrible mush that somehow still get you market share. But by cashing in on what's so dependable, you get a more secured line of income. I honestly cannot tell if this is a devious meta-commentary on the state of early access games and the survival genre currently, or if it was completely unintentional and tone-deaf. The game plays it straight, but PixelJunk are known for more abstract interactive art pieces, like 4AM and PixelJunk Eden, so it's possible. But if that was what PixelJunk wanted to convey, they could have gotten to the point a lot faster. Making me spend 5 hours on a single planet trying to figure out what the game's tutorial left out does not make Nom Nom Galaxy 2015's Spec Ops The Line. Now, the game does support co-op, both online and local, but I could not encounter other players during my review playthrough. It's easy to imagine a second worker being a huge help to your operations, but with such a frustrating trial and error design, you'll have a hard time selling a friend on this one. There's also, inexplicably, a challenge mode. The challenges are completely out of place and feel like an afterthought. The smartest idea on offer is a sandbox version of each planet for you to tinker around with. There's also an option to swap around how you're playing local co-op, so you can either use both controllers, or one player can use a keyboard and mouse. What upsets me the most, though, is that the game is just dull and unimaginative. The automaton robots are terribly done when they could have been brilliant, light scripting language in visual form. Defending your base could have been as fun as Dungeon Keeper and ape the depth and complexity of a Sim City game. The 2D exploration bits could have shown other survival games how it's done by showing off the usually very fluid gameplay of other PixelJunk games. And yet, Nom Nom Galaxy instead chooses to just go the quick and easy route. While it's not terrible or broken, Nom Nom Galaxy is easily the most mediocre and unimaginative of the PixelJunk lineup, which is why it gets 5 terrible cans of grass soup out of 10. This is Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes.
I see a lecture and I want it into black. I see the girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes.
Bring your minigun so that you
Bring
can.
your minigun to the beach.
Yeah, you go bodyboarding and then you come back in and you're like, oh, there's the enemy. Let me grab my minigun.
Yes,
And we're about to go into more buildings
We're going to go
and
inside lots of great buildings.
use our bullets to negotiate. Oh, good, they're already shooting.
It's like House of Cards with guns.
Yeah. I'll be Frank Underwood, and then we'll just make this work.
Well, if any trains get nearby, I am not Zoe Barnes.
Now, you know that Zoe is my most true ally. Oh God, they're throwing grenades.
Yeah, and you've kept a very open thing with the community. You've shown a full content roadmap that everybody can see, and you've explained your plans for the game. How has the response been to that, and to the current build of the game that's out right now in the public?
Well, I'll take the second question first. So the response to the build and the game that's out there, the early access version that's out there now, has been really positive. We're hovering around 90% positive Steam reviews, which we're really pleased with, and it really inspires us to keep making those features and keep making things better. The open development policy has been something that we've embraced throughout the entire span of our development. We used to stream the game, playtest of the game, really, really early. Even when it was first person, we had some streams from way back when.